I stumbled across a viral tweet that surprised me and I just had to investigate it. This post by Kerneal states that for most PC gamers, they should be running in a balanced power mode on their PC to park unused CPU cores during gaming sessions. By parking those CPU cores, it's going to reduce the overall CPU package temperature, allowing higher frequencies to be run on those active CPU cores. By parking CPU cores, this would theoretically lower overall CPU package temperatures, allowing the active cores to run higher frequencies and increasing your frames per second in whatever game that you're running. Let's see if this is actually true. So to test out this tweet, I'm going to be running XMP on my Asgard Bragi RAM set to DDR5 6800. Intel Adaptive Boost technology is going to be enabled. ASUS multi-core enhancement is going to be enabled. Remove all limits. These are the settings I'm going to run with both high performance power settings as well as balanced power settings. So here we're in heaven and we're on a high performance power plan. We have FPS monitors up here as well as usage percentage and core clocks. And I'm just going to let this run so we can get an average FPS right here. And then we'll go ahead and do balanced and see what the average FPS is. So I am seeing some cores going down to 0% on the usage, but they're not staying there and they're not parking. Our CPU package temperature is in the mid 60s, so I don't see any reason why any of my processing cores would run at a higher frequency since we're not being thermal throttled. As you can see, our P cores are running at 5,500 megahertz and our E cores are running at 4,300. That's expected. There's been no drop, and I don't foresee any changes occurring when I put it on balanced. I foresee it staying the same, but we'll see what happens. So we're coming up on the end of a loop here, and it looks like we have 108 average. I'm gonna write that down so we can compare it to a balanced power plan next. So here we're on the balanced power plan. I'm gonna let this run through a full loop until it gets back to this dragon. So as you can see, some of the CPUs do hit 0% just like on the high performance power mode, but none of the cores are actually parked and completely stopped. And you can see our frequencies are also at 5,500 for P core and 4,300 megahertz on E cores, and our CPU package temperature is still in the mid 60s, and we're looking at roughly currently 107 to 108 average frames per second. We'll let this run through the full loop and come back and look at what the average frames per second is once it's finished. So this might make sense if your CPU is being thermal throttled, but again, the CPU cores are not even parking, so I don't see how that would affect your temperatures in any way because all of the cores are still active even on the balanced power plan. Okay, so here we're coming up on the dragon here again, and this is roughly right where we stopped before. And we can see that we have 109 frames per second average. So here it also says it's 108 frames, so we're bouncing between 108 and 109 average. That's well within the margin of error for the high performance power plan. So we've gotten the same average frames per second when running through this loop in heaven. So I'm gonna move on to some games, but the results are about as I expected. Okay, so we're still in balanced power mode and we're in Cyberpunk, and we're just gonna run through this sequence here and we're gonna look at what the average frames per second are at the end of it, and we're gonna write it down and compare at the end. For the end of the scene, we can see we have 73 frames per second average on the balanced power plan. I'm gonna go ahead and enable Game Turbo High Performance, and we're gonna head back into Cyberpunk. We're gonna go ahead and redo this sequence, and we're gonna see what we get. Here we see our average FPS is at 71, so we'll go ahead and write that down. So with Cyberpunk, we ended up with 71 on high performance power settings and 73 on balanced power settings. Not a huge difference, not enough for me to say that balanced power plan is definitely giving more frames per second, as it could just be down to margin of error. I've not really seen a difference in core clocks or anything like that regarding the CPU or temperatures. So currently right now, I would say that it is not doing anything so far during the testing. I'm gonna jump into another game and see what we get there. So here we are in Jedi Survivor. I'm gonna run a quick pattern through this area so that I can get an average FPS. Now we're on balanced, and I'm gonna go ahead and reset the statistics and move on. So we have 71 frames per second average. I'm gonna go ahead and write that down. I'm gonna go ahead and enable high power mode. So now we're on high performance power mode, and we're gonna run back through this section and see what results we get. Resetting these statistics. Okay, we see 72 frames per second. So in Jedi Survivor, we have balanced performance mode 71, high performance mode 72. Again, it's within the margin of error. There is no difference between power plans in terms of frames per second when it comes to gaming. So here we have the balanced power plan setting, and we can go to processor power management, minimum processor state and maximum processor state. We can see that it's set to 5% and 100%. This setting would not allow the cores to park, even if they're at 0%. I took Corneel's tweet at face value and did what any user would do and selected balanced power. I didn't change anything in the power options, as that's what most people are going to do if they see a tweet like that. With the testing complete, we can conclude that this statement is false. If your CPU is being thermal throttled while playing video games, you have a lot of other issues to worry about than your frame rate. You need to troubleshoot what is causing that overheating issue and get it fixed. When you're building a custom PC, you should always benchmark and stability test when you complete. That way you don't run into these overheating issues that may be causing your CPU to throttle and lowering your frames per second in video games. If you're not sure what that process looks like, you can click here to find out exactly what it is.